$54 million, yo.
Oh my gosh. Can you believe that? That is crazy.
$54 million was spent on the ArriveCan app. An app for you to check in and to upload your documents.
Country.
Yeah.
To your home country where your citizenship lies.
Yeah. And there was a hackathon. And for those who don't know what a hackathon is, it's just kind of when a bunch of tech geeks, developers get together and seeing what they can build within 24 hours. Essentially, it's a fun time.
Yeah.
And so they did one of these in Toronto, and they did one to see if they could rebuild the ArriveCan app, and they did so within 48 hours.
2 days. They built a clone, like 1-to-1 clone of a $54 million app. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that hourly works out to.
How much does that work out per developer?
I mean, it's literally more than $1 million an hour because, like what?
That's what's a $27 million an hour? Or sorry. I'm thinking $27 million a day.
Yeah, $27 million a day.
Yeah, nice.
So like what? 1 point whatever million. I'm not a mathematician.
Toronto tech company has cloned ArriveCan in under 48 hours to show the government overpaid millions. Sheetal Jaitley, chief executive officer of Toronto-based TribalScale, said it would have cost his company less than $1 million to build the app, a fragment of the millions poured into the digital software. How could the government spend this amount of money on it, Jaitley said, while speaking to John Moore on News Talk 1010 Tuesday morning. ArriveCan was established by the federal government to speed up the immigration process.
Speed up? Slow it down!
Okay.
What?
Anyways, at Canadian international airports during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic era, on October 1st, the app became optional as the government lifted the mask mandate and health check requirements for travelers.
I hate that. What a lie. Speed up immigration process. Have you seen the lines at airports the last 2 years?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I think it really sped things up.
Oh, yeah. It was a breeze getting through Canadian airports the last 2 years.
Oh, shoot. But, like, you know, I personally loved this story because obviously it speaks to kind of our background. You know, I've been to a few hackathons myself. They're fun. Mm-hmm. But this was a brilliant idea to try and clone the ArriveCan app. And I think some things to kind of explain to people who aren't in tech, you know, cloning, it's actually easier than building from scratch. Because then you have pretty much not all the code, but the basis of the code's there. You can kind of, you know, figure out how everything was built and see if you can just do it better. You're just kind of going 1-to-1. So it's like trying to copy a picture essentially. So your picture's there and you're just kind of trying your best to trace it out. Still takes effort. But it's a little bit easier.
And admittedly, in this case, they may have only had the design given to them. Like, I don't know if the government released the code.
No. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
So it might have even been harder, and they still did it in 48 hours.
I was just thinking, like, there may have been some type of inspector tool or that they may have.
Right, good point. Yeah. To just maybe get a peek into it.
Yeah, just like an idea of how it's structured.
Truth.
But either way, like 48 hours to clone it. So say if they had to build it from scratch, was it 4 days?
Right.
Like,
would it have been a month even?
Yeah.
Who cares? They said it would only take $1 million to build it.
Yep. $1 million.
So they could have saved us $53 million.
Seriously. And so I was reading some things, and I think the one thing they want to clarify was that 54 didn't all go towards the app. It also went towards, like, you know, contact tracing and things like that. So there's things around it. Still, it's a ridiculous price tag.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you were to look at it line by line for, I guess, where that $54 million went, I'm sure it was more than $1 million just to the ArriveCan app.
Yeah. Like,
what else could you spend the $54 million on? Or 53.
Yeah. Like, exactly, right?
In a time where, like, Canadians are broke.
Mm-hmm. And
we're giving money to the Ukraine. We're broke. We're spending $54 million on an app.
Yeah.
And they built other apps. They built the contact tracing app.
Yep.
The one that, like, would just alert you if you got in connection with anyone else's phone after they reported positive.
Yeah. And actually there's another story today on top of that came out.
Off the press.
That was, like, sent to me today. $222 million was dropped to what is it? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the federal government would contribute as much as $222 million towards Rio Tinto's limited plans to increase production of critical minerals and reduce carbon emissions at the global mining giant's iron and titanium oxide facility in Quebec. This guy's just throwing money everywhere.
So I wonder, are the presidents of the organizations that he's giving money to, are they his friends? Like, did he know the guy or gal who owned the company that was contracted for $54 million to build an app? Like, did he know them? Were they a close Trudeau ally? You know, like,
I'm sure there's some
are they
type
friends
of
with the
connection.
Castros or something? Like, what? Like, what's the connection?
See, that's what people talk about conspiracy theories right there.
Dog, really? They think that's conspiracy theory about his father and Castro?
Well, that's 100% a conspiracy theory.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, like, it's literally it's the definition of conspiracy. We don't have any proof of it.
Oh.
It's just the actual
Oh,
definition.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Not saying like it.
I didn't think it was like a world-renowned theory.
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no. But
Whatever.
it's still funny, though.
Yeah.
So, exactly, that's the issue, right? The $54 million to one app. The way I see it personally is this is kind of money laundering at its highest form, in its most prime form, in front of all of us, and we're not saying nothing about it.
Right.
Like, that's what I personally, I'm not saying it's fact, that's kind of how I'm seeing it. Where it's like, where's this money going to? Aside from, like, you're overpaying on everything. And, like, how many more government jobs has this happened where the job, the government's paying out 20x how much it should have cost in the first place?
Right. Like, would $54 million have been the salary to just hire the devs to do it in-house?
Oh, you bring up a good question, actually. It really, for a product like that, like, if I remember, I only went through the ArriveCan app a little bit. It's literally like, it's got one functionality.
It's like a
upload files.
So here's the American version, which isn't really ArriveCan. It's just called it's mobile passport control, which is just, you can pre-fill out the customs one. It has nothing to do with COVID. Mm-hmm. But you literally just like click and then you like just pick things and like add yourself onto it. And
right. It's got one functionality.
Yeah,
right?
It's just to collect your information.
Add your passport, add all those details.
Yeah.
There's like a passport scan function that never really worked.
Yeah, I had to input everything. Yeah, that's true. It would scan your passport and it would just like not collect the information. And you had to type it all in anyway.
And they paid money for that.
I was like, what? Or you could scan your Nexus card and would not get it right.
Yeah.
So then you add yourself in as a traveler, and then you can use your like traveler identity in the app when you're arriving to Canada to upload your vaccine information, to upload your, I guess it would just be vaccine information and like a COVID, last time you had a COVID test, last time you had COVID symptoms, things like that. So just like, it's a form with an upload field and checkboxes.
So all it is, it's just housing information. It's just housing documents.
And then it uploads it to a server or something like that.
So there's nothing crazy about it. I know for myself, as if they contracted my design firm to do that job, I would have charged 10 grand, 12 grand for the design.
Right.
And then from there, usually development should cost about 10x or whatever the design is.
And so like, let's just say like, cause I mean, like devs aren't 150 grand.
Yeah.
Devs aren't paid a ton, right? Like in Canada, like entry-level devs are not paid like entry-level devs in America.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the average dev, if we're talking from Toronto or Vancouver, you're probably entry level is 60 or 70.
I was going to say 75 grand.
Yeah. That's a very fair statement. Yeah.
So like, even if you needed 75 grand for the year and you needed
10,
let's say you needed 20 people, it's 1.5 million
for a year.
Dog.
And we know
$54 million divided by 70. Let's pay them 90 grand a year.
Sounds good.
You could have hired 600 devs. You could start a company.
Yikes.
And the thing is, the ArriveCan app essentially just worked as the declaration form that we used to have on airplanes.
Yeah, except it just asked your COVID information too and would randomly select you for a COVID test.
Right.
They would racially select you for a COVID test.
That's the truth, yeah.
So here we are.
So that's what the government's spending your money on.
Yeah. And I've seen like people.
And was it outsourced out of Canada? Because that would sting even more.
I have no idea. No,
that would sting way more.
That would hurt.
If Canadian money went to America or...
Dude, straight up offshored it to China.
Listen, he admires their leadership too. And that's not a conspiracy theory.